Welcome to the midway point of the NFL season. Each week I pick the brains of sports anchors from across the country to hear their takes on 4 of the week's games. This week we're joined in Minnesota by sports anchor and expert Mike Max. Hey, how's it going over there in Minneapolis?
Good, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And hey, if we're in Minnesota this week, we have to talk Vikings. And this week, Kirk Cousins and his crew heading to Arrowhead to face the Kansas City Chiefs. Will Kansas City still be without their main man, Patrick Mahomes? And really, what can we expect from this matchup?
I assume right now today that they will be without Patrick Mahomes. Now, they may prepare a little bit for him, but I think that most people in the Vikings locker room assumes he will not play. And he's got an interesting connection to Minnesota because his dad used to play for the Minnesota Twins here. So we've all kind of followed his career from afar, and we're kind of hoping that he would play this week to see how that played out with his father and all the side stories that go with it. But the Minnesota Vikings are a very confident team right now, Katie, and I'll tell you what, their defense, everybody talks about Kirk Cousins and he's played well and he's done this and that last 4 weeks, but their defense has been a constant. They don't get beat, and Mike Zimmer, as a defensive coordinator, in addition to being the head coach, seldomly gets beat by an inexperienced quarterback, and that's what he'll be up against this week. So the only thing I see in Kansas City's favor right now is that it's on the road for the Vikings. Other than that, I'd give Minnesota just about all the advantages in this one.
Good to hear for fans in Minneapolis. Up next, the Chicago Bears move east to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly is the favorite this week, but only by a small margin. So who do you pick here?
You know, that's a good question because we've seen both of them here. The Vikings have played both those teams and beaten both teams really quite handily, to be honest with you. I like Philadelphia. I think they found their mojo last week, and I just think that the Eagles have struggled to find an identity, but you saw Carson Wentz the other day, great pocket presence, moved around, was the leader on that team, and I thought they took a real step forward, and given where both teams are, I like the Eagles in this one.
All right, and for the first time in more than a month, the Raiders are heading home to face the Detroit Lions. Their last time in Oakland, the Raiders lost to none other than the Chiefs. So what's going to happen this week in Oakland?
I like the Lions. I think the Lions are a good football team that doesn't know who they are some weeks. Matthew Stafford's been pretty good. When we saw the Raiders here in Minnesota, the Raiders were terrible. Since then, they've played better. I mean, obviously, they beat the Bears over in London, and that seemed to give them a little spring in their step. But when you just talk about talent here, you got to like the Lions. The Lions have a pretty good defensive front. They messed around with their secondary a little bit there. But I think Stafford's pretty cool. He's found himself, and he understands who his receivers are right now. So I like the Lions. I think they've played a good schedule so far, and I don't think the Raiders are that good. If you play well, I think you win.
Mike, it really just seems like we have a lot of these sort of coin flip matchups this week, and another tough pick, in my opinion, is going to be the Green Bay Packers set to face the Los Angeles Chargers in Week 9. So who are you going to go with for this one?
Well, obviously, the Packers are the Vikings' arch rival, but what we've seen so far tells me that Aaron Rodgers is going to control the game. The Chargers got away with one last week against the Bears. I mean, they had no business winning that game. They found a way to win the game because of what the Bears did, their self-destruction. I think the Packers are, they're not just in first place in the NFC North. They're a really good football team right now because they're healthy. They haven't had many injuries this year, and I don't think San Diego can keep up with them. Plus, I think Rodgers outthinks that he sees a defense like that. He can dissect the defense like that. A defense that I thought looked vulnerable that Chicago couldn't expose the other on Sunday. I think Rodgers will be able to do what Mitchell Trubisky couldn't do, and I think he sees things that Trubisky doesn't. So I think that the Packers are going to put up 28, 31 points, something like that this week.
There you have it, the anchor in Minnesota picking the Green Bay Packers for this week. Well, those are your NFL Week 9 picks. Thank you so much for joining us this week, Mike. More picks to come in the following weeks from anchors and experts all over the country. I'm Katie Johnston for CBS Local Sports.